Today, I want to go straight to the point. I have on the line a clinician who is here to talk to us about our approach to healthcare as a community. So, stay tuned and have a listen. So, good morning to you, Nana. Hello.
Good morning, Queen G.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
I am doing well as well. Thank you. So, I would like you to introduce yourself to us. Who are we talking to this morning?
Thank you. So, firstly, I'll say thanks a million for having me on your lovely show. My
You are
name is
welcome.
Nana. I'm a nurse by profession, and I'm quite passionate about the health of our community and how we look after ourselves. I'm a mother of two, and I absolutely love music.
Awesome. I do as well. Thank you for that short introduction. So, firstly, before we go on to the topic, you said you are a nurse. I want to
Yes.
know what actually motivated you to become a nurse.
It's a very interesting one. Whenever people ask me, I find it quite ironic because often what you hear people say is how they always knew they were going to be somebody. That wasn't my case. I actually always thought I was going to be a lawyer. I'm quite argumentative. I
Wow.
love to defend people, so law was always the passion, but life has a way of throwing all sorts of curveballs at you, and you then need to make some other decisions. So my dad died very early in my life before I even became a teenager. And it just meant that I needed to make certain life changes. And one of them meant that I needed to leave my native country. I was originally born in Ghana. So without any family in Ghana, it meant I needed to join the rest of my family in the UK.
Yes.
And then I had actually, by the time I came, I had actually done a number of things, completed my A-levels, which was not necessarily going to be able to get me admission into law. And then there was the cost of paying for tuition and so on and so forth. So I then thought, actually, one of the things and people that I really admired was the people that looked after my dad when he was ill, community nurses. So I thought, why not? I'll be one of them. They were such an inspiration.
Awesome.
So I then decided to train as a nurse.
Oh, that is interesting indeed. So, at one point on this show, we talked about career aspiration, and people told us how they changed careers because of circumstances. And yours has demonstrated that indeed circumstance can actually change your career, in as much as your father died and also you moving from one country to another. So thank you for such an explanation. We are grateful for your time. And now, moving on to today's topic. Today's topic says that our approach to healthcare as a community. What is it about, community-centered healthcare? Could you please explain?
So I think when we made reference to community in terms of the discussion we're having, we were talking about the Black community, and to narrow it down to mainly Black Africans.
Yes.
That was how our previous discussion went. But actually, healthcare in the community service is reference to the service that are not offered in the acute hospital. So we have primary care, secondary care, and tertiary care.
Yes.
So the primary care, which is the services that are offered within our communities, the GPs, the district nurses, and those kind of care is what is termed as community care.
Lovely. So when we talk about community care, that is what it means. And there is also this thing called self-care and self-management. What are they?
So they're both very similar in the sense that it involves the individual who is going to receive the care actively participating in the care. But when we use self-care, we are often referring to short-term management of care, an acute way of looking after yourself. So you may have had an accident that has led to an injury. You come back home and you're given a care plan of perhaps, or actually, let's just say you had surgery. You've come back home and then you get given a plan of shower at this time of the day, avoid water going into the wound, leave it for 3 days to dry. It's a really short period where you're looking after your care. Whereas self-management, on the other hand, is often used for long-term and chronic conditions. So if you have individuals like diabetes or leg ulcers, so you have individuals that have got diabetes and need to have some understanding of what their insulin levels should be, when they should eat. Now, there is very little chance that an individual with diabetes is about to die unless there are other existing comorbidities that puts them at a very high risk. But otherwise, the expectation is that they're going to live with this condition for the rest of their life. So we teach them self-management, how to manage their condition for the rest of their life. It's a long-term chronic situation that needs to be managed.
Lovely. Beautifully explained. I believe that my listeners are also enjoying as well. I just want to open the phone line so whoever is ready to join us can join us. And if you want to send us text messages, you can do it. Ask her any questions. She's here to help us to understand what is going on in our bodies. So the phone lines are 0203 735 8820 or 0203 286 0185. That is the phone line. You can also WhatsApp us on 0778 793 9958. The phone lines are open, so please do your best to join us. So, moving on, there are so many people who don't actually visit the GP or do regular checkups. They stay there until they feel really sick before going to see their doctor. And sometimes their doctor will tell them, "You are lucky. You would have died. You are lucky. You would have gotten stroke." And even some unfortunate situations, people do get heart attacks and stroke before they realize that they have certain diseases such as diabetes or high blood pressure. What can we do as people to ensure that we take regular health checks and also not to fall prey to this type of diseases that will cause our untimely death?
So I think there's the popular saying, prevention is better than cure. And actually, if you think about it, it's a really good principle to apply to your life in so many aspects, including health. Because not all conditions are reversible. So if you wait till it's detrimental to your life or it's a near-death experience, then you've done yourself a lot of harm. So my advice is always make it a point to look after yourself. You know, when computers were introduced in the 90s, there was a popular saying that people used to say, computers only give you what you put in, garbage in, garbage out. And the human body is very similar. So when we're talking about prevention, we're talking about what is going into your body.
Yeah.
You are what you eat.
That's right.
So in so many ways, we have a lot of control over how we prevent getting these diseases, whether it's through our diet, through exercise, and any other form that we can access. But I think the key issue will be to engage in regular checkups. So there are people that don't even know what their blood pressure is. If you walked into Boots or Superdrug, you can buy a blood pressure machine for less than £50 and just check your blood pressure. And if you think of what you will actually do with £50 in the UK in this austerity season where finance is a big topic everywhere you go, £50 will not take you anywhere. Whereas actually it will buy an equipment that can monitor your health. You know, some people do. So this is about looking out, being aware of signs and symptoms of conditions.
That's right.
This is about being aware of your family history. You need to be very au fait with what killed your mom, what killed your dad, what killed your grandpa or your grandma, what is more prevalent within your family. Your family history plays a key role because the DNA is carried on from generation to generation to generation. So in that same manner, there are certain sicknesses and illnesses that will carry on from generation to generation. So there are a lot of preventative measures that people can take. There are organizations that host weekend community services by visiting specific areas like a shopping mall, and they set up a stall just to weigh people. It's good to know your weight and your height to actually find out, what are you obese? You know, have you got the right weight for your height? It's good to know your body mass index. How much fat or muscle and water have you got? You know, it's good to know your tolerance level. How far can you run? How far can you walk? So all of these things are indications that tells us how fit we are or how unfit we are. You can always also go into your GP to do all these checks. There are various checks for over 45 years old. I think that's compulsory for all men and women. There is 50-year-old for breast checks. There are breast screenings, smear tests. You know, there are so many things out there for free. And that is why when you register with a GP, they will ask you to bring, do your urine sample, they take blood sample. All of that is trying to gather some data on you to understand what's going on in your body. The challenge is that what you may be for now isn't what you are 5 years or 10 years down the line. So the fact that your GP took blood and urine and said there were no risk when you registered with them, it doesn't mean you're still that same person 10 years down the line. It's important you go back for another checkup, do an overhaul. You know, I remember a few years ago, I was having a chat with a friend who said that it's interesting that people would take their cars for an MOT every year.
Yes.
Because the law requires them to. But they will never do MOT on their body every year to see how fit they are.
They are only chasing the money.
Yes.
They've forgotten that money is health is wealth as well.
Health is wealth. You know, if you haven't got health, you can spend all your wealth looking after your health, and it may not even save you. You know, so if you're not going to take anything away from today's chat at all, the thing you need to take home is to do regular checkups.
That's
so
right.
that you identify the signs and symptoms of what is going on in your body.
Yeah. Someone will tell you, I'm not feeling sick, so I'm not going to go for checkups. When do you actually have to go for checkups? Do you have to wait till you are sick, or you can just walk in and say, oh, I want to know my history?
I will encourage everybody to do it yearly. If you can't afford yearly for financial or work pressures, time constraints, then do every 2 years. Because just like any equipment, the more you use it, the more it deteriorates.
Yeah.
So the longer you live, the more your body is at risk of developing all sorts. And coming back to a direct answer to the question of, there's nothing wrong with me, do I really need to check? Yes, you should. Not all illnesses have signs and symptoms that you can feel.
It's symptomatics, isn't it?
Yeah. So they are asymptomatic. You have people that get a cardiac arrest or get a stroke. And then while they're treated, you find out that their blood is too thick, an artery is partially blocked. Now, all these are fatty tissues that has been building up in the artery. But because you're able to do a few jobs, or you'll carry on as normal, you did not realize that you may have experienced a little bit of tiredness every now and again. You know, cancer is one of those things. The people end up in hospitals and they say, oh, you stage 4. How do you mean stage 4 cancer?
Yes.
Well, actually, it spread to here, there, and there, and there. But I never felt anything. Yes, you didn't.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had gone for a checkup, or if you had felt the slightest thing, a change or a lump in your breast that you were not convinced of, but because you may have said it's not causing me pain. So no, anytime you find anything different within your body, you find anything awkward, you find your tolerance level of anything has changed, it is time to do a medical MOT to see how you're getting on.
Very interesting. So thank you so much. It is time for you to do a medical MOT. Whenever you take your car for MOT, remember yourself. Because even the Bible, those who believe in the Bible, the Christians, the Bible says that your body is the temple of God. And so if your body is the temple of God, you need to make it clean. And what are you doing to ensure that your body is clean for your Father in heaven? Isn't it, my sister?
It is.
This is really interesting. I just want to say thank you for those who have actually joined us on Facebook. We really appreciate your time. Bring in your comments. We have about 20 minutes to go, and we need you to bring your comments so we can all learn together. Moving on, could it also be that people are not going for health checkups because of, for example, language barrier? They are thinking, what am I going to say when I go to my GP? Is there anything that they could do when they have such difficulties?
So I think there are, and this is sort of, there are a number of issues that sort of deprive people from receiving the necessary healthcare or medical inputs that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And the right terminology will be health inequalities.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a number of things that play into that.
Yeah.
So the example you mentioned is someone that has a language barrier and therefore not confident enough to go into hospital.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and I've experienced that. I had a friend who was Polish, and actually no, she was Romanian and wasn't very fluent in English, and had lived in the UK for over 5 years and will never go to the hospital until one time she started to experience palpitations. But because this was to do with the heart, she then panicked and rang me and said, Nana, I have never been to the hospital or my GP because I can't express myself, but this feels rather odd and I need help.
Yeah.
And even under such a circumstance, I literally needed to hold her hand for both of us to walk into the A&E together before she goes.
Yeah.
Because she says, I just don't know what I'm going to tell them.
Yes.
You know, and language barrier isn't the only driver for health inequality. There are other things like poverty, that people haven't got the right money. Now, somebody's probably saying that, well, the NHS is free, so how can poverty impact on health?
That's
actually
right.
Yeah, there are indirect things that are directly influenced by poverty. So a typical example is housing. Okay. Recently in the news.
Sorry, by the way, if for any reason your connection is gone, come back again. Just sign in again and come back.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So it not long ago on the news, it was a very common theme that people in housing accommodations that were not appropriate, there was leakage, there was mold. The most popular one that was out there on the social media was a young child that actually contracted a lung infection and died because there was mold in their home. And because they were low income and couldn't afford to rent, they were counting on the council to rehouse them. And the council did not have enough properties to then rehouse them. So this child lost their life because of mold. So there are so many other things. There are people that cannot afford fruit and veg. So they buy a lot of carbohydrates, high carbohydrate meals, but the excess carbohydrates then turns into sugar and fat, which then ends up leading to the development of diabetes. So there are so many things that come to play that influences our health or prevents us from getting the right health status that we should be in. So my advice or encouragement to friends and family listen to us out there today will be, you really need to make an effort to consider what is the biggest influence in my life at the moment that puts me at risk in terms of health. It may be that you have enough money, but you're too busy with your life working, you're not exercising, you're not active enough. So you can be busy and not necessarily active enough that causes you to lose fat. So
apart
all
from
of these.
Okay, you go on, then I'll ask you this question. All of these are factors.
I'll end right there. They are just things that people need to consider.
Yeah. So apart from these things that you have mentioned, do we have certain diseases that affect a particular ethnicity, or particular ethnicity are prone to? Which kind of diseases that a particular ethnicity are prone to?
Oh, yes. So I was reading an article from the Mental Health Foundation. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, it's a very recent research that they did.
Yes.
And this was a post-COVID research, and it showed that Black men are more likely to experience psychotic disorder.
Okay. And break it down. What is that?
So it's a
Psychotic.
mental health condition.
Yes.
Now, what that is down to, they didn't go into the nitty-gritty details of it.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, being a Ghanaian,
Yes.
I can talk about some of the West African cultures that you can see can contribute to why a Black man will be prone to a mental health disorder. There is a popular saying in the Ghanaian culture that says that when a bullet hits, it hits a man's chest.
Yes.
And he's meant to absorb it and not die. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, Matissa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So men, this is a saying that almost depicts men to be immune to emotions. Therefore, it's quite weak for a man to demonstrate any mental weakness. There is another one quite popularly says that men don't cry. What do you mean men don't cry? They hurt. They have emotions. So if we're continuously telling our sons and our husbands and uncles, don't cry, don't depict emotion, all they do is just bottle it all up inside them.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, they've broken down completely.
Yeah. A friend once told me that he listened to a certain program in Japan or something, and they actually have a room where people will go in and pour their hearts, cry, because they believe it's medicine. When you cry your heart out for whatever is wrong with you, then you will feel healed and you feel better. So I understand what you are saying. It's very, very important.
It is. And you made reference to Bible, so I'm going to assume that it's actually appropriate to mention it over here. There's a scripture that says that tears may endure for the night, but joy cometh in the morning.
That's right.
What do you think that is? Why you cry at night, you're setting yourself free.
Yes.
So by morning, you are relieved. And you have the strength to be able to face the day. So it's very important for people to have an emotional outlet.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, mental health is a real challenge. Diabetes is a challenge to Africans purely because of our diet.
Yeah.
We eat a lot of carbohydrates, high sugar meals, a lot of frying, you know, a lot of oil, fat.
Yes.
We fry a lot of our meals, you know, so there are diseases and conditions that a group of people can be more prone to it than another group of people.
Based on their lifestyle and the food that they eat.
Yes, yes, or even culturally, life. So you talk about lifestyle. If we talk about our Caucasian friends, they do a lot of smoking. So what you find is that conditions that are caused by cigarettes will be something that they are more prone to.
That's right.
So yes, there are conditions that we are prone to because of where we come from, because of our lifestyle, because of the family genetic makeup of who we are, can also put us at risk of certain conditions.
Thank you so much. I've got a few messages here that I need to read to you. So someone just sent a message, said, "Good morning, Queen G, and good morning to you and your guest. My name is Nana Amma, and I've recently noticed that my dad is not feeling well. He always says that there's something wrong with his genital area. I've asked him to go and seek help, but he feels shy and afraid to talk about it. What can I do to support my dad?"
I mean, it sounds like he's a little bit nervous and afraid of what will be found. Okay. But the truth is that if there's something wrong, the quicker they find it, the better it can be addressed. And I think prostate cancer and prostate issues are a very common thing in men. So my advice would be, if there are any videos or and I'm sure you can find videos on YouTube or even Google a few signs and symptoms of prostate concerns. And I think and share with your dad. One of the things that you find also is that usually when people come to the point where they believe that something is not so shameful, then they are willing to embrace it. So if you can look up data around, if you Google for information and data around genital issues among men, particularly over 65s, you can share some of that with him to let him understand that actually, Dad, this is normal. A lot of men go through it. What we need to seek is help and support from the right people. Because actually, the worrying alone is eating him away. And what he doesn't want is to leave it for too late. He's alive, but he's not really enjoying. He's not having the quality and the peace of mind that he should have, because it is worrying him. And that's why he's sharing with his daughter.
Thank you
and
for that.
If there are concerns around perhaps being examined by a female doctor, that can be requested when you book an appointment with your GP. That for privacy and dignity, my dad would like to be seen by.
Oh, she will definitely come back. She will come back. So let's hold on to her coming back. But once we are waiting, I want to bring to your attention what I have in my hands this morning. It's about mental health. Funny enough, she was talking about mental health. So hold on to it. So it says that, are you feeling, do you have any feelings of anxiety and depression? This feeling of anxiety and depression can affect us all. And you are not alone. Be rest assured that you are not alone. That's the reason why NHS mental health services are available to help you. NHS mental health services are a free, effective, and confidential way to treat common mental health issues. Seeking help through a talking therapy can be one of the best steps a person can take to overcome their mental health issues and get back on track. Help can be offered in a number of ways, including in person, by video consultation, over the phone, or as an online course. For those whose first language is not English, talking therapies can be delivered through multilingual therapists or through confidential translators, and in British Sign Language BSL as well. If you need help with your mental health, you can refer yourself without a referral from a GP. All you can do is go to nhs.uk/help and you can find all the information you need. Nana is back. Hello, Nana.
Hello.
Yeah, Kuji. This is from Ninoy Nate, Facebook. Thank you so much, Ninoy, for joining us this morning. He says that always apply GIGO in your everyday endeavors. Good show. Thanks, Nana and Queen G. So he is applauding us for the good job that we've done. So as you were saying, continue.
Yeah, so I think what I will encourage my sister that's seeking advice for her dad will be just encouraging him that there is a solution to the problem.
Yes.
Even though in their heads, they think there is no solution, there is always a solution. They need to get it investigated so they have the answers and then they can apply the right treatment.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much for such an insightful, advice this morning. And this also is from Eugenia. Eugenia says that, thank you so much, my sister. I am 49 years old and I have seen a lump in my breast. What can I do? Because I know that people who are 50 years old should go in for that checkup for breast cancer and stuff like that. What should I do?
She needs to go to her GP. So when they say that certain things are offered to certain people, that is the government being proactive and trying to catch diseases early. So all based on the data that they may have, their data may suggest to them that breast cancer is probably more prevalent in women over 50s. Now, obviously, the government is also trying to save money and save people's life and trying to do prevention better than cure, because curing costs them a lot of money. So if they can catch things in time, then they can address it in time. So they make those decisions based on prevalence data.
Yes.
However, it does not mean that certain individuals cannot get certain things earlier than the dates that data is suggesting, because we are all individuals and we are all very different. So the fact that she's not yet 50 does not mean that she cannot get a form of cancer. People get cancer at 36. Also, there are all sorts of things that are going on. So my advice would be book an appointment with your GP. Again, if you're shy, you don't want a male GP, you can say that you prefer to be seen by a female GP because of this. They will book an appointment, they will examine you, possibly refer you for a mammogram, get a test done for them to see exactly what's going on. Don't leave it for too late.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So this one is also saying that, thank you, Queen G and Nana, for the insightful program this morning. I am a male. I am 45 years old. When do I go in for the overhauling you were talking about?
So I'm not quite sure exactly what the age for men is. There are two things you can do. If you go on the NHS website, that can tell you that. You can also just give your GP a call, and it doesn't have to be the GP himself you talk to. The secretaries will be able to tell you when men are allowed to have their MOTs. You can also do it privately, or you can just ring them and let them know that you're not feeling quite well, or you're not coping with exercises that you probably would have a year ago or so, and will want some checks to be done. I remember about 10 years ago, I'm not going to tell you my age, but I was much younger and much fitter 10 years ago. But what I was experiencing was regular urination at night.
Yeah.
And it really bothered me, because I thought it is one of the symptoms of diabetes. And diabetes runs in my family. So I started to worry about it. I think it was more compounded by the fact that I knew diabetes is in my family. And being a nurse, I was connecting dots of, okay, this means this and that means that, But what I did do, I just rang the GP and I said, look, I'm feeling quite tired lately. That can simply be down to working and studying at the same time, because I was trying to do other senior nursing courses. Or it could also be that there's something wrong. And I didn't use the word diabetes, but I told him I'm urinating more frequently than I need to.
Usual.
They booked me an appointment, took blood, took urine, did every test. So they know a bit more than I know as a nurse,
Yeah.
and he did suspect diabetes as well. So they did all the checks and the test came back negative. But what it did do, it gave me the peace of mind. So I realized that actually the tiredness has nothing to do with diabetes. It's just the life I'm living now.
Yeah.
I'm working, I'm looking after the kids, I'm trying to complete a few modules at uni. So that is what is making me tired. And maybe perhaps I was drinking too much just before bedtime. So there are all sorts of things, but until you do the check, you can never tell. So I would say ring your GP, have the conversation with him, and let them decide where they take it. Try and avoid self-diagnosis. Dr. Google is a very popular doctor
That is
who
true.
will tell you all sorts, but sometimes it can lead to misdiagnosing.
Yeah. So
always try and contact the expert. And the reason why the GP is a very useful practitioner, if their name, general practitioner, they have experience over so many things. They see all sorts, as opposed to when you're in the hospital and you might see a cardiac doctor or a diabetic nurse, or their knowledge is very narrow in terms of they are experts of a specific condition. The GP, on the other hand, has general knowledge of basic conditions. So they may not know the condition itself to very detailed or in-depth as an expert, but they will have the general knowledge of a lot of conditions and will be able to point you in the right direction.
In the right direction. Thank you so much for that point as well. And so Nana Ava is also saying that, hello, good morning to you, Queen G and Nana. I am so pleased to have found this channel, and I am very happy to listening to you both today. Thank you so much for your comments as well. And this is from Sylvia. Sylvia says that, good morning. Could you please say what you are saying in Tree for us? Oh my goodness. So Nana, over to you. For those who don't understand the Ghanaian language, someone has asked that Nana will say something in Chi for us. So please do not go away. Stay with us as she explains what she has said in the Ghanaian language. So please, over to you. Say what you've told us in Ghanaian language.
Yo, miniaba, medase. Ya bubon bebre so, but nitia wetwam no. Ni ayeka kosia ne se. Ye ebibifo onipa bibini a ufri Africa. Ye won yare bi ne niema bi a ehihye ye nipaduam. Esan ebusua ye fim ana aduane a yedi ana sede ye boye bra ana sika ye ni Emma yentimi enye niema bi yenya dan pa innem intie bi a wodan kra wodam no ensuo eliki enti awo eba ho enti a emframa ebe etimi ko mu no anya yare ne ade enti ye sansensem we na ye propro so se die hia ne se onipa bia wo nkwa ewa ahoden no esese wo bo wo nipadua ho ban and train na nyare ansa esese wo make sure say aduane a wudi eye aduane a ebema wa ahoden aduane a anwa ene enwu bebre wom emoayen na mom ene ma ye tisu ye krom ye kind vegetables Quingy we de job wa me kakra vegetables
abaye duane ente sa kontomre ne na sefo
na adoa ni kontomre enkuruma ni ade se wo hwɛ se de kwasi broni edidi a onye onhye da anya froye na mom no ebi a emo any peas, green peas, na ketchup gunchen, na the chicken baako da so. Eyo no ne de no. Wo baby mu nso a yeso ye de ne de ye de nhaban no eye nkwan ana afroye ana bibisa enti de sesa wo ye ne se wo ma ebi a wo nhaban no enua emro so bebre ana wonfa enwu bebre enwu ani wunkruma froya enwu kakra bi so ahu enti yenyiri ye ho ni yenni yenua ni ye na emom ni yenni no kwan paso
yeah
a ye de ahoden ebebre yen ye ka kakra nso efa doctor so ube beki time senka afibia ye so de afibia wo de wo car eko magazine eko hwe se eye adwuma na
so me magazine
abro kwesi broni se MOT mechanic aha enso ye krom de yes ayi ko fita what the car no ko fita ho
yes
ekohwe se eye adwuma na saa na sise wo ye wo nipadua ne nso afi bia ko ne kohwehwe wapom ehwe se wahoɔden etesen wapomuden etesen na ma doctor emwa na bibia obehu no wo omo akyerɛ wo ekwan a wo befa so a wo betimi ebema ebekɔ ye san so ekeka eniema bi a ye gidi se yare bi te se diabetes ene adwimuka yare a eto ye bibifoɔ ekyɛn enipa bi mu esan ye nuane die ene yabra bobɔ entiam se saa nsɛm yi ene yakeka abesi baabi a yegyina
medase pa waka ensɛm no akyerɛkyerɛ mu papaapa ɛma yɛn nso yate aseɛ na sɛ yɛka no yɛgana kasa mu bie mu a ɛyɛ ensɛm bi a nkɔfoɔ bi bisa yɛ sɛ obi se ne papa ohu sɛ ɛyɛ ana ne yɛka ne sɛ mehu sɛ da meka no ne ejapadeɛ ho no ɛyɛ ana ɔse ɔwɔ ɛhaw wɔ ho nanso osuo sɛ ɔbɛkɔ doctor ma doctor ahwɛ no ɛwɔ no nso mpɛ sɛ wobɔbɔ so kakra ɛwɔ yɛ kasa mu ma yɛ
yɛka kɔsii sɛ nneɛma ne bebree wɔ hɔnom a ayɛ no bi wɔ hɔ a ɔfɛre ɛsiane baabi a yareɛ ne wɔ anaa ɔntii bi da anaasɛ bi koraa pa a ɔnim ɛkwan a ɔbɛfa so a ɛbɛhwɛ ɛma saa adeɛ nakɔ nti yɛka kɔsii sɛ nneɛma saa no wofrɛ wo doctor na wa register wɔ baabi a wote na wo ne ɔmo ka na sɛ bi a ɛyɛ fɛre na wo fɛre woyɛ ɔbaa wompɛ sɛ bɛrima doctor ne hwɛ wo anaa woyɛ bɛrima wompɛ sɛ ɔbaa doctor ne hwɛ wo a wo ne ɔmo ka kwasi broni ɔte asɛm ase ɔbɛyɛ deɛ wɔka no ama wo ɛsiane sɛ wo nkwa ɛho hia no yɛka nneɛma bi nso a yɛse wokɔ internet so a wowɔ ɛba anaa nnua a ebi a ɔwɔ nimdeɛ kakra a obetumi akɔ internet akɔpɛ video ɛfa deɛ wo face ne ho a wobehu sɛ nkɔfoɔ bebree nso nam saa deɛ no na yɛtumi ɛsɔ ano
ɛwɔ ayaresa ɛbɛhyɛ wo nkran sɛ nya wo nko a okay yɛte aseɛ yɛdase paa anɔpɛ na yɛasɛm a yɛka nyina ne sɛ Awurade nhyira wo sɛ ɛndɛ wobaayɛ nti yɛbɛsan akɔ pɔtɔkasam na yɛpɛ sɛ mo nso monka yɛ ho ma monkɔ baabiaa yɛdi nkɔmmɔ ɛnkyɛ yɛde dwumadie no bɛba awieɛ nti no mo a moaboa yɛ mo abɛkeka mo asɛm abɛtie adesua yɛda mo nyinaa ase yɛgye di sɛ ɛyɛ Awurade pa desɛndɛ mobɛsan aba na mmom no Auntie Nana, we're going back to where we came from.
Good.
Yes. So your final thoughts, what are you leaving us with today?
I'm going to say that if the data, so the UK census, the last one that was done in 2011, showed some disturbing information. There's just under at the time there was just under 1 million Black Africans in the United Kingdom, which was making up just about 1.8% of the people in the UK. That was 2011. Now, fast forward to 2019 and 2020, another data that was done on obesity showed that actually 16% of all Black Africans, children that were between the ages of 4 to 5 years were obese. And it gets worse as they grow. Those that were between the ages of 10 to 11 were 30% of them were obese. And now what we know is that a Black woman is 2.5 times more likely to be obese than other ethnic minorities or our fellow Caucasians.
Is it because of the food that we eat?
The food is part of it. Our genetic makeup is part of it. If you look at our Caucasian brothers and sisters, they have a nice flat tummy, a nice flat bum, beautiful pear-shaped hips. That is how genetically they are made. And that is just a general description. It doesn't mean that there are no Caucasians that have big bums or big bellies. This is just the general description. Whereas if you look at the makeup of an African woman from a side view, she looks like an S. Quite busty, a big belly, and quite endowed from the behind as well.
That's right.
So genetically, how we are made up, that is how we look. So having that kind of a figure and then eating a lot of stuff that ends up turning into fat and not also having an active lifestyle does not help us. You know, a lot of the Caucasian, this is their land. This is where they grew up. They don't know any other weather than this weather. The Black African, on the other hand, migrated from somewhere in Africa. There has never been snow. It's always hot. So as soon as it rains or it starts to snow, they don't go out. I'm cold. They're sitting at home. The Caucasian will do their jogging, will do their exercise, will do everything in that bad weather. We just say the weather is bad and we are not active. So there are so many things that puts us at risk that we really need to be mindful. And obesity is one big factor that has other conditions linked to it. When you talk of cardiovascular diseases, you talk of diabetes, you talk of many chronic illnesses, a lot of it are linked to obesity. So my final word, brothers and sisters, will be let's look after our bodies and preserve it. And let's not get ourselves to be obese. Weigh yourself, measure your height, and see whether you have the right weight for your height. If you are not, make a conscious effort to do something about it. Right is right when nobody is doing it. Wrong is still wrong when everybody is doing it. And my very lovely saying, prevention is better than cure. That's what I'm going to leave with our listeners.
Wow. Nana, I am so grateful for your time. And I hope you will find time for us again next time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning. And next week, we will be on the show with a volunteer. One will ask, who is a volunteer and what is it about volunteering? Come and have a listen and see what's in it for you, the benefit that you can get from volunteering. It is very, very important, and it is very inspiring that you would know what it's about. So come and have a listen. Like always, I love you. So you too, love me and don't leave me. Woo! Come on!